Hi. Today we're going to talk about creating an order as a seller or a rep in Candid. So throughout Candid, you're going to see these buttons labeled New Customer Order. This is where you as a seller or a rep are able to create a new order on behalf of a buyer. You can do it from the HQ. You can do it from the catalog, start order over here, and you can do it from inside the customers list. You can either start one right here, or if you jump into an individual customer's record, you're able to start a new order with them directly. If you want to start a new order from anywhere other than the customers area, it's going to ask you to first find the buyer. If they're already in the system, a quick text search will reveal them. That's Candid Retail right there. If they're not, it's very easy to add a new customer. We like people to do the search first because we don't want to create duplicate records and we have to prune them and merge them if someone inadvertently creates a company that's already in Candid. But it's not a big deal to add a new customer. It's going to ask you what their website is. If they don't have one, you can add them manually and start an order right away that way. For this demo, we're going to start an order with our buyer company, Candid Retail. And as it loads up, it'll put you in a brand new order. This is going to be your catalog here on the right and the order form over here on the left. You'll notice it's a draft order. Until you click the submit button, which is up here in the upper right-hand corner, the buyer is not going to be able to see this order. It's a draft. Think of it as like an email you haven't sent yet. That's why we get kind of loud with this alert here. So you can start building the order in a couple of different ways. The default way is to search your catalog over here, and you can visibly select items. Let's see, we want to add some of this. We will select our quantities, and you can either add over here on the left or over here on the right, and it's the same in both spots. If for some reason you want to do what's sometimes called a notes order, where you just put an item on the order, but you don't specify any quantities, you just select quantities, and it shows up as a line item without any of the size variants or other variations selected. And if, a situation that happens a lot is sometimes people will want to say, hey, I think you might be interested in this one. If you click on the variant title, a little arrow will fly in, and you're noticing here that it's saying there is not enough in stock. So we maybe won't indicate that one. But as you build the order, you can select over here. You can look up products. So let's say I know I want the Adania pant. I can find it really quickly via text search, and you get the same interface over here. If you want to inspect the product, you can do so. It's the same product stuff you get from the catalog view over here. And if you want to do more of a visual cruise through the catalog, that's real easy. This expander button over here will take it out of 2-up mode side by side and send you into a larger catalog view. And you can then switch back and forth between a full screen order and a full screen catalog. But most people find that it's easiest to do with the catalog and the order side by side over here. Once it's looking good, this looks good to me, you're going to click submit order. And there's actually two things you can do here. Because Candid was built to accommodate both what I like to call a one and done order style and then a quote and negotiate order style. And so the difference between these two, I can show you right now. If I were to submit the order, what this would do is it would approve it on my end. And I have to enter a couple of details here. I have to say who's, it defaults to me, but if I want to say this is actually coming from my coworker, Avery, I can select that there. That'll put him as the primary contact on the order. I'm going to leave it to myself for now. It defaults to this is who you're sending it to on your side and who you're sending it to on this side, which should be automatically configured on your side. And if it's an existing customer, it'll be automatically configured over here. If there's no one there, you'll be asked to add an address, and you can CC whoever you'd like. Then you're going to select the default shipping order location. If you have a default set, it will set. Right now we've got, I'm picking it here and it updates the order over here. You can sort of see in the background that it's changing the address as we go. And finally, you will say your message, in this case, test order. And at that point, the order is ready to send, and you can either mark it as sent or you can send it right away. Let's send it. At this point, your action button is grayed out because the order is awaiting response. So you can move on, do something else. This is a really good way to share draft orders with buyers, or if you've got like a first-time order that you like to send out to buyers and say, here's what people normally buy, feel free to add to it, make any changes. This is part of the quote and negotiate process. So this order is basically waiting for their response, as it says up here, and that one's done. So now let's see what happens. I'm going to do another order with Candid retail, but I'm going to do it as a one and done order. So this is really helpful if you already know what they're doing, if you're like taking an order over the phone or maybe transcribing a paper order that you got in the real world at a trade show or something like that. The order process is exactly the same. You add your products. Let's do 1, 2, 3. 3, 4, 5. If you notice this one's turning orange, what that means is that there's only 0 available and you're trying to sell more than are currently available. We have various settings that you can set to determine sort of how you handle that sell past 0 logic. In this case, I have it set up so that it'll let me do it, but it'll give me a warning. In this case, as the seller, I know I can make more of these jeans. I want to make the sale. This is fine. I'm gonna send it on through. So I'm ready to submit the order. And now, because I want to send this all the way through and I'm not waiting for buyer approval, instead of clicking the submit order button, I'm going to click this drop down over here. And I'm going to go all the way down to pre-approve order. And so what that means is that this is where you sort of have to put your, I will say it was approved by, and it'll show me the list of people at the buyer's company. And I'll pick the date that it was approved. So in this case, like, let's say I'm at a trade show, we're doing this order live together, written approval at trade show. If I wanted to, if there was a paper order or something I wanted to attach, I could choose a file and attach it there. I'm not going to, but I could. I simply have to click that I affirm the above buyer explicitly approved this order as it appears and click next. And at this point, it's very similar to what we just saw. I select my location for shipping. I can load from previous orders. I can do the ones that are saved on their account. Let's do this last one because that looks good. And let me put, no, thank you. Say attention, Gary, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is all looking good. And again, you've got the dialog here where I can say who's sending it, who I'm sending it to, CC anybody I want, and add my message. In this case, I'm going to approve and mark as sent, just because I don't want to clutter up my inbox. And at this point, the order is ready for invoicing and shipping. So once that happens, you get the invoice and shipping blades that appear here on top of the order. And I've got Candid Pay turned on so I can accept credit cards directly on the order. So it automatically calculates the subtotal, if there's any shipping, if there's a discount associated with this customer, if they're using a coupon code, if I have estimated shipping, that'll all go up here. If I want to add some fees, let's say a $4 handling fee. And default terms are set either per catalog, per customer, or site-wide, depending on how you've got it set up. I'm going to override that and say, net 15 for this one. I'll pick my due date as whatever that is, May 5th. And I'll say, thank you for your prompt payment. Now, if I wasn't using Candid Pay, I can use this note field as a link. So let me say, https://quickbooks.com/invoice1234. And you'll see what that looks like in a minute on the invoice. When this is all looking good, again, very similar to what we did with the order itself. You've got the send button to send the invoice directly from Candid. Or you can do a manual payment right now. Again, let's say I've got a manual payment over the phone or something similar. Or you can mark it as invoiced externally, which will happen if you've maybe sent it out through your accounting platform and you just want to get Candid up to date with the payment record. Let's send the invoice and it will show you the people you can send it to at the company. Again, if there's another email address you want to add, you can enter it manually. I'm just going to send it to Dave. Send a little message and fire away. And so now when you go back to your reporting, you will notice that this order If order 25579, it's locked. So I can't update any of these quantities because it has been finalized and sent to the buyer. They can't edit it at all, but you as the seller, if you need to edit it, you can click this edit button up here. And it unlocks these fields. Let's say maybe, oh, you know what, sorry, got to take one of these down. And we're going to change the PO because, we actually need to make it 25579-A. We're going to do that. It says, please notify the buyer of changes. It does not automatically send them an update. You're going to need to do that yourself because we know sometimes you need to make these edits and be a little more diplomatic about it than simply sending an automated notification. So we let you do that there. And so, let's say it's been a couple of days, you need to send a reminder. There's a button right there for the same thing. Maybe I want to add, Gary at Candid Retail and say, hey, Gary, still waiting for this payment. And I'll send that. At that point, again, depending on the terms, I think one of the fun parts of wholesale is that you can get paid long after the order is shipped, given net terms. So that's not a blocker for things like shipping. You would untwirl this shipping blade here, and then depending on how you're going to ship, again, there's some settings that are going to be set up about inventory that once you're underway, like that should be taken care of initially on the onboarding and initial setup, and you won't have to worry about that on an order per order basis. But let's say you are sending it manually. You could also integrate with a shipping partner, but for this case, we'll say we're doing it manually. I'm going to say ready to ship, send shipment. That has captured the inventory, marked the date as shipped, and from here I'll enter in my information from wherever else it is, 1Z, a bunch of stuff there. I can send a shipping notification or not, but at this point it is underway. And when I go to look for it in my list of orders, it's going to be this one right here. It's going to show that it was shipped. And if I go to shipments, I get a little more details on that. It says that it's sending to Los Angeles, California, 17 items. That's the order total. And if I go to payments, I will see that the invoice has been sent, but not yet paid. And if I wanted to filter for invoices that are not paid, I can do, let's see, invoice status. You can do overdue. Got a lot of them in this account. You can look for received but not paid. It's going to show up on that list. You can look for uninvoiced if for some reason you forgot to send an invoice. Those will show up right there. And then clicking on the order, you can clear out the filters here. And then clicking on the order will take you right back to it. On the buyer side, I'm going to see a couple of different things depending on how the order came to me. If it was a quote and negotiate style order, I'm going to get an email that lists it as a new order inquiry and gives a little context. We make a point of making sure that the email head subjects are all consistent and have all the information you'd want to search for and are automatically threaded as the conversation goes on so that you're not spending too much time digging if you need to go look something up after the fact. But it'll show the information, any message that you want to enter here, order details, and a link to review the order. So I'm going to click that as the buyer now, and it's going to load up. And here's what the order looks like. Okay, in this case, it's got some order notes. So this is a field that you can set. Again, this is a setting that you set once, and it's the same across all orders. It's good for letting people know things that you want to sort of be up in their face about. That looks great. I'm going to close it out. And then here I am seeing this partially approved order that has been sent by the seller, or perhaps the rep. I have basically the same view as the seller with a few key differences. I can't edit the discount and I can't set the date. But if I need to make additions, let me take this down one, let me add a couple here, and that all looks good. I, as the buyer, am then going to approve the order. And it's very similar. I get the same drop-down box of who I'm sending it, who's receiving it, where I'm going to receive it. And I'm going to say test. And at any point too, if you scroll down below the messages, you're going to see a history of the order events and any messages that were sent along with it. So that if someone needs to take it over, or maybe you just haven't interacted with this order in a while, you're going to be able to pick up where you left off, even if it's been weeks. Because sometimes these life cycles can be very, very long on orders. I'm going to say that's great. I'm going to send it away. And the order is now approved. And at this point, the buyer waits to be invoiced. Now, let's say it was a one and done or pre-approved order. The email that the buyer gets is going to be slightly different. You're just going to skip right to the end with the invoice. It's going to say, hi, your invoice for the order is right here. Here you go. Here's all the information. Great. And the order that they click on when they pay invoice, they get a slightly different view. They get a very streamlined view because the order's been finalized. You'll notice it looks a lot more like a paper order without, editability. And if you do want to manage it, you can click on this Manage Order button, and it takes you back to the full proper Candid editing interface. But that's not what you see by default, because at this point, the thing to do is to pay for the order. And if you have Candid Pay enabled, that's our integrated payment processor, you get this nice blue Pay Invoice button, and you can enter your credit card, or if you have one saved on file, it goes there and you can pay. I'm not going to do this because it's real money, but that is the easiest way to finish paying for an order in Candid. If you don't, you might remember we added this QuickBooks link here in the order notes. Those show up. That's also very easy to do. You certainly don't have to use Candid Pay. It makes things a little bit easier, but everybody's got different systems, and you can easily direct people on a per order basis here in the notes field. Once that's done, that's pretty much it. In addition to sending out orders to buyers, the best ways to reach out to them are organized here under the Connect tab on the left-hand side. So new customer order is the default, the easiest and the quickest way to do that. But you can also share a catalog link or share your storefront link. And these links are pretty important. You can find them also down here in the corner menu, share catalog, share storefront, and they're fairly self-explanatory. The storefront, if you copy that URL, I'll fire it up in an incognito browser. This is the landing page that is purely optional, but a lot of people like to have this. It's kind of a combination of an About Us and contact page that you can do. You can put whatever you want in here and share, order details, information that people might want to know before placing an order. And crucially, this is a great way to share a link far and wide, but still make sure that you've got a bit of control over who actually winds up placing an order with you. So you can add a retailer application in here that makes people fill out a form before they contact you. That's the storefront link. The catalog link, this is a little more complicated. Usually it'll just copy a link, but in this case, we have multiple reps and multiple catalogs. So this modal, you will pick, if you are a brand with reps, you'll pick the rep that is being associated with this link and the catalog set. In most cases, none and default will suffice. This gives you a URL that you can then copy, and it sends people directly to the catalog. And what's nice about this is that they don't need to be logged in. They can, when you give this link out, people can cruise your catalog. They can look at stuff, they can inspect products, and only when it's time to start an order does it ask them to create an account or sign in. You can also find the catalog link here in the catalog itself, which if you have multiple catalogs and you have authorization to edit them, you can do all sorts of stuff. We've got multiple catalogs, price lists, catalog sets, and a whole bunch of functionality that I'm not going to get into here. But this ultimately gives you the options that show up here in the link builder. And what's nice about this is it lets you offer certain catalogs to certain buyers. You can do stuff like different currencies for different territories, different custom links for different reps, that sort of thing. And that is the high-level view of how to send orders as a seller or a rep in Candid.